Welcome to USA Global TV and Radio, where our mission is to provide education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. USA Global TV and Radio connects you with experts and audiences all around the world every single day to help you succeed in business and to live a richer life. Visit us at usaglobaltv.com to learn about career and life-changing training and mentoring programs like the Listening Mentor. Subscribe to our newsletter to stay informed about our special programs and offers. Discover how you can become a guest on one of our shows or a host or producer of a USA Global TV and Radio show of your very own. That's USA Global TV and Radio, where the doctor is always in.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to USA Global TV and Radio. I'm Dr. JACALYN KERBECK, and our show today is Entrepreneur and so much more. We actually have a couple of topics that we're going to be discussing that are really pertinent to any of you out there who are entrepreneurs or business owners, or maybe you're somebody with a side hustle. What does that mean? We're going to find out from the star of our show. His name is Mirigliani, and he is a TV and radio show host. He's an author. He's a producer, he's an entrepreneur, and he's someone who leads his life with his heart, and he's my friend. Let's welcome him from New Jersey in the United States. Hello.
Hello, Dr. JACALYN. Thank you for that wonderful introduction, and the feeling is mutual.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes I want to say you're from Philadelphia because we're looking at the Philadelphia skyline, but they're so close, Philadelphia, New Jersey.
We're just 15 minutes away from the city, so we're really close.
Just over one of 3 or 4 bridges, let's see, or no, more than that if you go all the way up.
More.
Yeah. It's a lot, but it's
the Walt Whitman, the Ben Franklin, the Commodore Barry, Betsy Ross, Coney Palmyra. So that's 5 right there.
And that's just in South Jersey. So
yeah, exactly.
I'm really interested in our topic today, which is business owners keeping up with the times and technology. And then what really is the definition of an entrepreneur? There's a lot of people out there who are doing side hustles, and I think we're going to have time to explore both of those. So you really help people in terms of soft skills training, which is so important. And technology, software updates, they're always coming. And as a business owner, we have to be open to new technology. In fact, I just was reading this morning about this new technology. It's AI, but it's robots, where you can design your own robot that you can have a relationship with. I read that this woman married one. So, I mean, that's a little out there for our
really
topic.
Far with it.
She's already married, by the way. So, but we do have to understand technology and keep up with it. So what are your thoughts about how deeply engrossed we need to get in the technology field as an entrepreneur?
Well, I think it does depend on the business that you're in. But for most businesses, you're going to need to keep your books. So you're going to have something like Excel. I think I could say from experience being a trainer, I train Excel more than any other program that I train. So whether it's Word or PowerPoint or Project or Visio or any of the other ones, the number one asked for app is Excel. And that's where we keep our spreadsheets. Numbers are such a big part of being an entrepreneur. You have to know how much money you're bringing in. You got to know how much money is going out. You got to know if you're making a profit. And it's not just by year. You got to look by month. I certainly, for my business, and I'm sure Dr. JACALYN is the same way, we have to check the health of our companies throughout the whole year. It's not just how do we do on December 31st. I'm checking, month by month usually to see how I'm doing, and some months are better than others. Just had a spectacular month for March, and April looks to be about the same. So that was not the case in January and February. In fact, it was pretty slow. So I think it's really important to have a grasp on what technology you do need, and then keep up on the changes. A lot of people use Microsoft Teams today, and I train that a lot. That's probably the second most asked for app that I train. And I'll ask people, I'll say, what is Teams? And usually their answer is, oh, well, Teams is how you would connect with people in a virtual meeting. And yes, Teams is good for that, but so is Zoom, so is GoToWebinar, so does GoToMyPC. There's so many different ones that are out there, probably hundreds of them that are out there. But that's selling it short. Teams is much more than that. It's how you can make your calls. It's how you can work with files together with people and work in it collaboratively. We call it co-authoring. So there's a whole lot that you could do with Teams other than just connect to people virtually. So I think it's important, one, is to know what your business needs, what applications you're going to need. And at a minimum, you're probably going to need Word. You're probably going to need Excel, something like Teams if you're not going to use Teams. Certainly PowerPoint is a great program to know because you want to create, and I'm going to say a key word here, dynamic presentations. The key word there is dynamic. You don't want to just create a slide deck with a bunch of bullets and just read the bullets and that's it. You want to present, and you want dynamic presentations with video, audio, animation, transitions, things that get people excited to hear your message.
Great points that you're making as always. And I know for myself, I have two businesses and both of them are very much tied to technology. And so I'm constantly watching YouTube, I'm constantly researching because I want to make sure that I keep the platforms up to date and that I know what's going on. And you and I have talked about this before. When you start out as an entrepreneur, which I'm going to put out there as 3 years, I don't know if that's correct or not, but I'm using that for myself, that there's a period of time where you're wearing so many hats, you're taking them on, taking them off. And then eventually you start bringing people on once you can trust people, because people are the face of your business in one way or another. They're brand ambassadors, so to speak. And you want to make sure that they're aligned with your mission and your goals. And I do believe that if you don't know the technology, it's possible for people to commandeer your business, your website, for example.
Yeah. And what if you get a website done from somebody who's not reputable and then they don't get back to you? Now you have a
It's
website that's maybe not even functional and you paid all that money and they have the passwords and everything. Now you have to try to get that all changed and give it to somebody else. It's very, very difficult.
And I actually had that for another website
Yeah.
that I have in addition to the ones I have now. And the person was in another country, another time zone. I don't know WordPress. So I think that that is a challenge because I've been told that at least for websites, WordPress is one of the best ways to go. I don't know WordPress, so I won't go to it because I'm not going to be
Right.
learning it anytime soon.
No, and that's just it. I mean, how much do you take on, as you said, yourself? How much do you say, you know what, this is just beyond my scope? Like for me, when I was getting a website built, the cost was prohibitive. It was just too high. People wanted at minimum $4,000 for like a one pager.
Mhm.
And I wasn't willing to put up that kind of money up. And I thought, well, I have design experience with PowerPoint. I probably can learn Wix. Wix is really, really good. I'm giving them a free plug here, but it's true. I use Wix because they allow me to create point and click websites and they look really good. If I brought up my website right now, you would have no idea whether it was built by me or by somebody who has been in the web industry for years and years and years. So for my charity, same thing. For the charity, at minimum, I was looking at $6,000-7,000 to have the website built. And I said, well, you know what? It's just too much, and I'm going to do it myself. And again, it may not be the greatest website that was ever made, but it's certainly professional. I don't think anybody would look at it and say, oh man, who's the hack that built that website? So, you know, do you get more bang for your buck? Probably, because somebody might be able to use SEO and they might be much better at it than I would be. But, in the grand scheme of things, you have to ask yourself, how much more value are you going to get for the $7,000-8,000, or can you kind of get by and skate by with the lower amount?
Yeah, absolutely. I know that I was quoted $15,000
Mm,
for my website to make it for USA Global TV to make it extremely dynamic. And I am not able to do the things that they were going to do. I'm not. But at the same time, I wasn't going to spend that kind of money and not have control. So I think you have, as an entrepreneur, you really have to make those decisions. And, somebody said to me, for example, Oprah, we'll use Oprah as an example. I love her. Is she doing her own website? Is she managing? Does she have a website anymore? I don't even know. But is she managing it? No, she's not managing it. So at some point, I guess the business grows to a certain point where you then say, okay, I'm turning it over to other people.
Right. And I totally agree with that. If I had billions of dollars like Oprah, I would not have blinked an eye at 20, 30, 40,000 for a website. I would say, yeah, sure. That's fine. But I'm not Oprah. I don't have billions of dollars. And it was just, 7, 8 grand was just too much at the time for me. And I thought, you know what? I don't think that if I would have gotten my website built by somebody else, I don't think my business would be any higher than it is right now. I think I'm at the exact same spot I would have been if I had the website professionally designed. Same thing with the charity.
That's really thought provocative. And I think we have to, as entrepreneurs, really think about that, because I know when I first started, I was told the logo and the website are the most important things. And that's not really true. It's the brand is important.
Right.
The
Right.
brand ambassadors. But I feel like the most important thing is, are you bringing value?
Right. And just for transparency's sake, my website was started by a friend of mine. He did a really, really good job. But part of the problem was he was a friend and he had a job. And when I needed changes, he couldn't make those changes. So we're getting back to what Dr. JACALYN said. You're kind of stuck, because if that other person can't make the adjustments, and no, it's not his fault. I mean, he had a job. He's got other things on his plate and he just couldn't. So I decided that I would go and make the changes that I needed to make myself. One of them was the logo. It used to say just for you computer training. Now it says corporate training, because I do soft skills on top of the computer training. So little things like that. Now my charity website, checkmatescharity.com, I built that one from the ground up. And it honestly, because I had the computer skills, wasn't super hard with Wix. I was able to go through. A lot of it was point and click. There are really a lot of neat tools that are in there that make it look like you're a designer when you're really not. And it's okay to have the illusion, right? I mean, I think it's the optics. There it is. I mean, I have video in my homepage. You can see the video that I put into the homepage. Now, you would think that somebody programmed that. If you don't know any better, you would think that somebody programmed that for hours and hours and hours. And it's simply not true. I was able to get this in fairly easily with point and click. And it was just one of our events when we had the NHL alumni event. There's my dad there, and there was me with one of the flyers, and it was a lot of fun. But I learned a lot by using Wix, because it allowed me to do things that otherwise I wouldn't be able to do, because I don't have the programming skills.
I absolutely love both of your websites. If
Thank you.
for people who are watching, if you wanted to go in and make a change to this video, could you do it?
I could. Yeah, I would have to get. Now, it takes a little time. But here's the thing. How many people have the computer skills that I have? I was lucky enough to have been a computer instructor for probably 15, 18 years by that point. So I had a lot of prior knowledge that made it easier. Now, if you don't have any computer skills whatsoever, do I think that you could do this on your own? Probably not. But if you have a good bit of computer skills already, I think there's a good chance you'll be able to get in there. And you can see I have video. There's some video that we did before, and
Rapping with Dr.
podcasts.
JACALYN. Wow.
See
Woo,
that?
look at this. Here you are at
NBC 10.
NBC.
Yeah.
Fabulous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, the
Check
other
it out.
thing that I started offering too is if there are people who need a website built and they don't want to spend $7, $8, $9, $10,000, I would do a Wix website for people for around $3,000 or $4,000. So it became another stream of revenue for me, which allowed me to grow the business a little bit more. Now, I don't get a whole lot of requests for that, to be honest with you. My bread and butter is the training, the computer training, and doing consultation. But I'm hoping to branch out and do this a little bit more. But if you find somebody who's going to be reputable, and I believe myself to be somebody who's reputable, you really can get a lot done, and you don't have to get your pocket picked. You don't have to have somebody say, yeah, 15 grand. I'm going to be honest with you. It probably would take me about, if I charge 110 an hour or so, I'm about $4,000 or $5,000 probably on the high end.
And how fast can you turn that around?
Probably a weekend. Depends on how many
Wow,
pages they
that's
want.
fantastic.
Yeah. If they want a 1-pager, it'll be a little bit quicker. If they wanted a 5-pager, sometimes you don't want a lot of pages. Sometimes people say, well, I want a gigantic website with a ton of pages. But if you don't have enough information to fill out those pages, it's hollow. You don't want it to look like you got this big, gigantic cave with nothing in it, right? You want to have a lot of information out there. So sometimes a 1-pager is actually better than having 7 or 8 pages.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I know usaglobaltv.com has a lot of pages, and I could add more pages to it, but it's just
Sure.
getting to be too clunky and too heavy. So that's another thing, because when someone comes to your website, you want to draw them in and you want to
Right.
keep them there. And many times people are not going to go looking at all the other pages. Once you get across the top to more, and then there's drop down and it's all the way down at the bottom, probably not going to be that high of a priority, right?
You know what the rule of thumb used to be back when I started, when I was using Front Page to create websites?
What?
If you could get people involved in your page, if it took 45 seconds or less, you were doing a good job.
Wow, that's
45 seconds
interesting.
less. Today, if they're not hooked within the first 5 to 10 seconds, you lost them.
They're gone. And
Yeah.
the good news is that we can actually get those measurements, those measurables, so that we know
Right.
what people are doing and where they're going. When I started off the show, Justin, I mentioned the fact that there are many people out there, and I've done it myself, that have had or have side hustles.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're working the corporate job and they're getting the paycheck and they're doing something on the side. Are they really entrepreneurs? Or are they corporates with a side hustle?
I would say corporates with a side hustle, to be honest with you. It's like I have a guitar and I have a keyboard in my house, but I'm not a musician. I could play around, have a little bit of fun, but that doesn't make me a musician. And it's not a knock. Remember, I just try to hit this home on almost every show. Entrepreneur does not equal successful. There are plenty of people who are not entrepreneurs, who are working a corporate job, who are extremely successful, make way more money than I'll ever make, and that's great. And there are plenty of entrepreneurs who have started a business and have failed. In fact, more than not, that's what happens, unfortunately, especially if you're in the hospitality business, right? If you have a restaurant or a bar, I think those usually fail within 80% or something, fail within the first 2 years or 3 years. And that's not a knock on anybody. That's just because there's so much out there at people's disposal. But no, I don't think that the side hustle is the same thing as being an entrepreneur. I'm not totally against the pyramid idea. In fact, I've done some of them. I am not super successful with pyramid. I don't want to say scheme because that makes it sound like it's a negative, but the pyramid platform, multi-level management. Um, I, I haven't found it to be successful for me. So I needed to build my business from the ground up. I wanted to have control over what it was from the beginning. Other people I know have a lot of side hustles like this. But I don't know. I don't think that would necessarily make somebody an entrepreneur. I think you're an entrepreneur when you actually build the business and you're the one. So the guy who started Leah Sophia, which is the jewelry company, he's the entrepreneur. He's got people who are making him millions of dollars. He was the one who built it up.
So what I'm thinking about is there might be people watching and they're saying, well, but doing this side hustle, I'm learning things outside my comfort zone that I wasn't aware of when I was in corporate. But here's where I think the big distinction comes in, Justin. And this is just for me personally. When I was
Sure.
in corporate up till 2020 and I had the paycheck coming in, I was doing things on the side. I would go out and buy myself a pair of shoes or a bag, or maybe go out for a really expensive meal. And today, no way. No way. I watch every single dollar. And before I spend it, I say to myself, is this really necessary, or should you put it back into the business? So I realized that business lives and dies with me and the decisions I make. When I'm in corporate, I go home on a Friday. Hey, I'm going to do whatever I want. I'm not even going to think about it. But this, I'm living and breathing every single day. People said it's Palm Sunday. It's this, it's that. I'm behind the green screen. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's
Yeah,
just a completely different world.
it is. It is. And I don't think people understand what it takes to be an entrepreneur because they don't think about that part of it. It's like, well, the weekend's going to be there and I'll have time off. Well, really? Because this weekend I was doing some work for a client. I was doing consultation work over the weekend. So, it's not let's take some time off. And for us, if we don't make business, we don't get paid. There's no paycheck that comes in on a Friday. I usually charge at the end of the month. So I send them my invoices. In fact, I sent them in today for March. So it'll take about 2 or 3 weeks for me to get paid. Um, and that's just the way I like to do it. Other people might do it every 2 weeks or whatever. But yeah, I mean, with the multi-level platform, multi-level marketing platform, MLM, the person doing it isn't carrying the business. They're helping to carry the business. The person who set it up, that's the entrepreneur. That's the person who started it, got it going, and then got it to be to the point where they have other people working the business for them. That to me is the entrepreneur. Now, that's not to say that you're not learning entrepreneurial skills, because you probably are. You're selling, if you're selling cosmetics, or if you're selling jewelry, or if you're selling what's it called, Tastefully Simple, I think is another one. Um, that's great. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. And I do believe that multi-level marketing can work for some people if they're really good salespeople. I'm just not. I'm just not a great salesperson. So for me, it's just not the way to go. But um, yeah, again, I don't want people to get the idea that there's some kind of a club that entrepreneurs sit around and say, we're better than everybody else. It's not the truth. Entrepreneurs just have a spirit of wanting to build something of their own, that they could call their own and say that they built this from the ground up, that somebody else didn't build. Um, that doesn't mean you're going to be more rich than anybody else. You may make less money, you may make more money, but at the end of the day, I think the entrepreneur is the person who likes to call the shots. And I think, Dr. JACALYN, would you agree that you like to call the shots in your business?
Yes, I would.
Yeah.
Absolutely. For sure. Justin, something that I also keep in my mind all the time. I love Shark Tank. I haven't watched it in a long time, but
Mm,
one of the questions that they would ask during that interview process for the pitch is, how much time are you spending in this business? Are you doing this full time? And as soon as someone would say, I'm not doing it full time, I have a full time job, then the sharks would that was kind of like, woo, red flag.
yeah.
So I would love to know your thoughts on this. In the last few months or so, I've learned of a couple of people who are entrepreneurs, and we're happy to announce that they've also started working a corporate job. And I immediately thought, I guess their business isn't doing well. That's immediately what came to my mind. Now, that I'm not judging, I thought that, because if your business is doing really well, why would you want to have the time for a corporate job? What do you think?
I'm completely lockstep with you there. I think that that's probably the deal. And that's unfortunate because it's got to be frustrating. I'm sure I get panicky when I have months that look terrible, or look, I shouldn't say terrible, but bad, not up to the standards that I have set over the last 4 or 5 years. So I know what it feels like. Now, if I strung together 4 or 5 months where things didn't go well, that would be very alarming. And yeah, I might have to consider finding a corporate job, or I actually have my master's degree in education, so I could go back and become a teacher. But um, yeah, I don't want to do that. I mean, my business is going in the right direction. There are ups and downs, there are peaks and valleys, but for the most part, I'm going in the right direction. And I want to spend my time growing that and making it more and more and more, rather than dividing my attention and going somewhere else. Now, with that said, somebody might say, well, you do run a charity on the side. I do, but I consider that my fun thing. So as crazy as that might sound, that's fun for me. That's part of the things that I want to do with my life. So it may seem that I'm splitting my time, but I would say 90% of my time when it comes to business is with the corporate training company.
Yeah, I think that makes good sense. I mean, when I think about Dr. JACALYN LLC and USA Global TV LLC, Dr. JACALYN, I teach people how to listen, I coach, I've got books, I've got songs, but yet that still interfaces with USA Global because
Sure.
at some level, everybody has to learn how to listen. People need coaching on how to be a podcaster, broadcaster, et cetera. So I think if you're doing two things that have no tie in whatsoever, maybe you have to be the kind of person who can really be good at dividing a line down your brain so that you can do both. But if you thought to yourself, okay, I had a couple months that weren't so great, would you ever say, if business gets to be at this level, it's unacceptable, I'm just going to jump ship and I'm going to find something else? Or would you say, if business gets to be this level, I'm going to find a different way to do what I'm doing?
I would try everything that would be humanly possible to keep the business going. I really would. Even if I would say it would take probably years of just trying anything in my power. And if even after that it wasn't working, then yeah, I mean, I would have an obligation to my wife and my kids to get a job and make money. But I would say it would take years for that to happen. I would have to have pretty bad years in a row, like maybe 3 years in a row where it was just awful, like maybe barely breaking even or something like that before I would even consider jumping ship. It's been too long.
Yeah.
I incorporated in 2009, and it's like it is your baby at that point, and to see it go away would just be devastating. Um, Give you another example with part of I do have another company as well. It's a production company, and again, that's not to try to make a ton of money. That's just for fun. I started a documentary about the Philadelphia Flyers from the team from 1984 to 1988. It's called Keenan's Kids. Mike Keenan was the head coach, and I got to know a lot of those players through my charity. And I wanted to give them a gift. I wanted to give them the gift of reliving that time. And um, make a long story short, there were people who wanted to help me try to move that along, but a lot of it was to sign over everything to them and kind of say, okay, now it's theirs instead of mine. And maybe that would have gotten it done by now, and it would be, on YouTube, or it would be something that you could stream on one of the streaming sites, but it wouldn't be mine anymore. So I would rather it not get done, um, than to allow somebody else to make it their vision. Does that make sense?
It does. Yeah, it makes perfect sense. So when you think about what you've been doing and how you've been growing the business, what are some things you can share with people out there who literally just started, or people who are kind of wondering, I don't know if I'm doing the right thing?
Yeah, I mean, you can learn from my mistakes. One of the mistakes I made earlier in my career was being afraid to grow too fast. I thought, what if I grow too quickly and then I'm not able to keep up with it? It was the self doubt. It was am I really an entrepreneur? Can I really do this on my own? You got to just wipe that out. You got to just say, forget that. You can do it if you're willing to do it. All you have to do is concentrate, put in the time. The biggest help for me in growing the business has not been the website. It's not any kind of marketing that I've done. It's literally word of mouth. I try to meet as many people as I can. I try to. Uh, I'm not a great salesperson, but I am a good conversationalist, and I am good at listening and making people feel like they're heard. And I think that's translated into people saying, "Hey, Justin, we really need you to come in here and teach some classes for our company." So I think another one is sincerity. You have to really want to help another company grow. I think when you start asking them questions about what they do, how they do it, how you can serve them, and there's the key word right there, serve. If you could let them know how you can serve them, they're much more likely to hire you rather than you saying, we're the best at this, we're the best at that, we do this better than anybody else, you'll never beat our prices. That's all fine stuff. But at the end of the day, they want to know that you care about them. And if you do, And I'm very sincere about that. I really do care. I want people to do well. I want people to excel. Money's great. I would love to be a millionaire for sure. I would love to not have to worry about putting my kids through college. I would love to be able to write a check and pay for 4 years right off the bat. But at the same time, the other part of the gratification of the job is to make other people grow. And I think I'm accomplishing that, maybe on a small level, but I'm seeing the benefit of the hard work.
Yeah, congratulations on that, Justin.
Thank you.
I just want to share, you mentioned about not being good at sales, and I feel like you really are good at sales. You just have a different approach. Your approach is you're authentic, you're who you are. You're not putting on some mask or memorizing some speech. And that's what I think really separates people. I'm not going to read this out loud, but on LinkedIn, and I think we talked about this on another show, it amazes me that people will reach out. They'll take the time to send a message. I'm sure it's copy and paste. So this person, this woman reached out to me and sent, I mean, 5 paragraphs of all about her. And then at the end, if this sounds like something you're curious about, we should chat. Are you open to a call? So I never answer. So the person writes, again, did you see my initial message? I'd like to hear from you. Like, what is that? That's kind
Yeah.
of like, and then today, I hope your day is going well. I'd like to circle back on my initial message, copy and pasted the 5 paragraphs again. When can you get back to me?
Wow. Yeah, that's intrusive.
That feels,
You
ugh.
you know, it really annoys me when I
Yeah.
get an email from somebody like that and they have a read receipt on the email.
Oh,
I'm like, are you kidding me? I would
I,
never do that.
I just want our audience to realize that people are out there watching, reading. I didn't get back to this person. Why? Because if I got back to this person, I'd have to kind of say, listen, your entire approach is offensive. I don't know how many other people you're offending, but maybe you need a coaching session. You should sign up.
Yeah,
So,
really. There's
but
sales right there, right?
there it is. There it
Yeah.
is right there. So I think it's important of what you said before about bringing value, being of service. That is what I think really differentiates us as entrepreneurs, is that you lead with your heart, and it's not about your ego. It's not about how many zeros are in the bank account. So many people get hung up on that. And I've shared this before, just very quick. People say to me, so you left your corporate career. How much are you making now? I don't know. Why does it matter? Well, you're probably not making as much as you were. No, I'm not, but I'm much happier.
Isn't that
Well,
what
I don't
matters?
know, but it's like, you
Well,
don't
then
have to
don't.
know.
I would tell them don't do it then.
Right. Exactly. It's not for you.
You don't have to know.
Yeah, but I think that there's that perception that it's always about the money, the
Oh yeah.
bank account. That
Yeah.
defines success.
What car you drive, how big your house is, what it looks like inside the house, your furniture, what clothes you have, all those things, right?
Yes. And it's ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, I have friends who make a lot more money than I do, who work a whole lot more than I do for somebody else, and they're on call. They got to work at night. They got to work on weekends. I have the luxury if I want to, and I do it. This week, I'll give you an example. My kids are off for uh, spring break, and it's Holy Week for those who celebrate in the Catholic Church. We talk about Holy Week, Holy Thursday, Good Friday, Holy Saturday, and I'm going to spend time with the kids at church and doing different things. And I don't care that I'm missing some business this week. It doesn't matter to me. I, the money will always be there eventually. You could always make more money. You can never, ever, ever get time back. It's impossible. My kids are 16 and 11, and they will never again be 16 and 11. Never. Next year, they'll be 17 and 12. And that's different. So, and I mentioned this on other shows before, holidays. I almost I had a company that said, we're going to fly you to Ireland on the Wednesday before Thanksgiving, and we'll fly you home on Sunday. And they were going to pay me an incredible amount of money just to do that one small class. And I turned it down. And people said, are you out of your mind? How could you turn that down? And I said, well, I would miss Thanksgiving. And they were amazed. Like, all right, so just have turkey on the next Saturday or whatever, right? You don't need to have it on that Thursday. You could just make Thanksgiving whenever you want. I said, no, I'm not going to do it. I want to celebrate Thanksgiving with my family. You only get, if you live to be 80, you get 80 Thanksgivings, you get 80 Christmases, you get 80 4th of Julys, you get 80 whatevers. That's not a whole lot. So you want to make them all count if you can.
Yeah, I love that you share that. It's so important. Time is really the gift. And I think also what's kind of cool is I was thinking this the other day, Justin, that every dollar that I make, I generated in some way or another. And you can't
Right.
say that when you're in corporate, there are a number of people who are involved in a project. There's overhead, there's this, there's that. And again, I love my corporate career. Anybody out there, I love you. It was great. I remember having to drive to the office for Monday sales meetings. Oh, let's go around the table and everybody say what they're working on. And now I don't have any of that. I don't have to run anything by anyone. And I don't know, that's kind of cool.
It's liberating.
It is.
Yeah.
It really is. And at the same time, I have to say, I really know the value of a dollar. And I can't say when I was in corporate that that was really true because I wasted money on a lot of things. Now I really appreciate the fact that it is a currency, it comes and it goes, and that I have the ability to waste it. I have the ability to invest it, put it back in the business. And I don't know, I just turning 60, it kind of was like, wow, this is really cool.
Yeah, it's a great feeling. And I think entrepreneurs have to be willing to spend money too. I know some entrepreneurs or people who tried to be entrepreneurs who tried the barter system where, I'll do this for you if you do this for me. So let's say somebody is a lawyer and he or she wants to start his or her own law firm. They'll say to a web designer, look, we'll give you free legal if you give us a free website. Doesn't work. It doesn't work. You get what you pay for. I think that you have to be willing to put some money out. That doesn't mean you have to be reckless and just spend it like crazy, but you got to be willing to spend money to make money. Advertising is important. It's real. It's not um, a magic trick that people advertise and then they make money. It really works, but you have to spend money to do it. But at the same time, I don't care how big of a company you are, you could be $1 billion company. There's no blank check for advertising. The advertising department doesn't go to corporate and say, you know what, we want to spend $2 billion in advertising this year. And then corporate says, okay, sure. No, they'll say, well, you have a budget. Your budget's, let's say, 100 million. Well, then that's the budget. And obviously for smaller companies, it's nowhere near those numbers. But if your budget is $60,000 for advertising, then it's $60,000 for advertising. But that doesn't mean spend 10. Spend it on what you think will grow your business. And sometimes you'll be wrong. I've spent money on things that I thought would bring me business that did not. And that's okay. I mean, that you learn.
We could have several shows just about that topic.
Yeah, it happens.
It does happen. And when it comes to advertising, I got an email today saying, hey, our publication's coming out. We'd love to have you in it. And I've been in it before, not since it's USA Global TV and radio. It was just the Dr. JACALYN LLC. And
Right.
I thought to myself, okay, I don't know what they're charging now, but do I want to put myself in there? Can I afford it? And I thought to myself, I think it's a cool publication. I think I'll do it. But that doesn't mean I'm going to do everything that comes to me.
Right.
I'm not. But here's the other thing. I'd love to have your thoughts on this before we close out today. So I interview a lot of people, as you know, and then invite people to come and join the platform. And
Right.
many times I'll hear people say, oh, what you're doing is amazing. I can see myself doing this, that, and the other. I just don't have the money. And so I never push anyone, but I'll say to them, what would be the value? And this can be for any business. I'm just putting it out there in general. What
Sure.
would be the value of you doing whatever it is that you would do here? Oh, and they get all animated. Da 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 da. This, and this. So, can you put it to the universe? Can you find ways to generate the income so that you can do it? I never thought about that. So that's my point. That a lot of times we just say something comes to us, we really want to do it, but it's always the money. So how can we as entrepreneurs pick and choose what we're going to do so that it actually takes us to the next level? Do you have any thoughts on that for our audience?
It's hard. I mean, you really do not have a crystal ball to know exactly what's going to make you a lot of money and what's not, and it's just the truth. Um, the way I look at a budget is I can spend a certain amount of money on my business without jeopardizing putting the kids through college. That ultimately is my biggest concern at this point in my life. Is I'm 48 years old. Again, 16-year-old daughter who is 2 years away from college, and an 11-year-old daughter who's more than 2 years away from college, about 6 years, 7 years. Um, but uh, there are things that I've wanted to do with money that I have done, and there are things that I've wanted to do with the money where I said I just can't do it because I'm taking a chance on jeopardizing what I have to pay for down the road. So it's there's no cookbook answer to this. I think it comes down to what do you think is going to grow your business. If you think if I spend $3,000 or $5,000 on a website, if that's going to bring in more than $3,000 or $5,000 in the long run, then yeah, it's definitely worth it. There's no doubt about it. But if you say to yourself, well, gee, if I build a website, it's not going to change much. I'm not going to make any more money. Then no, then don't get the website built. You know, those are decisions that you have to make. Can you always know whether you're going to be right or not? No, no. I think that comes with time.
Yeah, and I think that's also the growth aspect of it,
Right.
the learnings that turn into opportunities that we're not going to do again. So,
Like I've had people want me to get into cryptocurrency. Have you had anybody
yes,
contact you about that?
yeah.
And part of me is like, wow, this is intriguing. This is something that could be really cool and possibly grow your money. And then there's parts of me saying there's a floor that's going to be pulled out from under us eventually, and that's going to collapse. I don't know when, I don't know where. Do I think that some people will be billionaires on it? Yep, I do. Do I think most people will be? Absolutely not. I think most people will lose most of their money, if not all of it. But somebody's going to get rich on it. Somebody gets rich at the casino too.
Well,
Somebody
guess
gets rich
what?
when they pull the Powerball numbers.
You're already rich. You're rich in everything that you bring to this world.
I appreciate that. You are too.
Oh, thank you. It's it's much more important, I think, than all the zeros in the bank account.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. I mean, you can't look. I would love to not have the pressure. I mean, I think that's the hardest part is when you don't have millions of dollars, and that's what you really need. If somebody said to me, "How much money do you need to retire?" If you were going to retire today and not work anymore, I would say probably $3 to $4 million to be comfortable. By the time I would retire and put the kids through school and pay for weddings and help them buy a house, and my wife and I have enough money to live comfortably and be able to go out and eat and do things that are fun, go on vacations. You probably really need at 48 years old, probably $3 to $4 million to be able to do that for the rest of your life. That's a lot of money. I mean, that's that a generation ago would have lasted you, two lifetimes, and now it only lasts you a half a lifetime. So, um, yeah, you are more rich with the things that you have that are not monetary. The monetary part of it is the peace of mind, being able to be comfortable. I think that's where the difference is.
Yeah, I think that you're right. It's the lack of money when you can't pay your bills and you don't have the freedom
Yeah.
and the power to make choices that's where it really starts to eat away at you.
3 a.m. ceilings.
Yeah, exactly.
You're counting the cracks in the ceiling because you can't sleep.
It's and then you have to call Caroline Hewer, the Harley Street stress expert, one of our team members. So,
Absolutely.
Justin, what's the best way for people to reach out to you, and who would you like to contact you?
Yeah, anybody who's looking for any kind of training on any of the computer software in the Microsoft suite, like Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Access, Visio Project, or soft skills, project management, negotiation skills, leading productive teams, leadership, conflict management, if I didn't mention that one. So those, and there are many more. You could contact me and ask me if I haven't mentioned one today. And my website is www.justforyoutc, all spelled out, JustForYoutc.com. And my email address there is justin@justforutc.com. If you're interested in helping us in 2024, we're going to do our NHL alumni game again, a celebrity hockey game to raise money and awareness for ulcerative colitis and Crohn's disease, and also those with an ostomy. The website there is www.checkmatescharity.com, justin@checkmatescharity.com. And my cell, 610-324-5545.
Thank you, Justin. We have to add that phone number to your banner.
Yeah.
Can you put it in the chat, please?
I can.
All right. Fantastic. Thank you. And Justin and I will be in Philadelphia for June 25th for the Take Steps Walk. And we are actively looking for you to join our team and make donations. So I will also drop the link if you're interested. We do have Al Cini, we've got Debbie Wilson, and we've got Joe Del Campo.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun time.
We're
going to have a lot of fun that day.
It's going to be a lot of fun. So if you're in the Philadelphia area and you'd like to join us, we'll be walking around Lincoln Financial Field. We'll have 2 tables set up. We'll be broadcasting live. I'll be signing books. Maybe you'll have your book there and signed as well.
I hope so. I hope so.
Yeah, do it. Make it happen.
Sounds good to me.
All right. Thanks, everyone. We wish you a beautiful night, a beautiful day, wherever you are. And if you'd like to be a guest on our show, this show or any of our others, please go over to our website, which is usaglobaltv.com/book your session. We hope that you'll stay on our website for 5 or 10 minutes. What do you think of that?
At least.
At least. All right. Thank you, Justin. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Dr. JACALYN. Bye, everybody.
Bye.